From the vise of Bob Veverka comes the Mantis Shrimp, a fly originally designed for wary bonefish that is now a staple in saltwater boxes everywhere. Hey everyone, Matt here with The Northern Angler. You can find all the materials for this fly and tons more at thenorthernangler.com. What's great about this pattern, besides how well it works, is the simplicity. It takes advantage of an often discarded material and is easy to tie consistently. Today we're tying Bob's Mantis with a few variations and tweaks I've added over the past few years. This is a fly that needs to be in your box. All right, let's start with your hook securely in the vise. This is the Umpqua X Series XS 420 BN 5X size 4. Did you get all that? It's a mouthful. This hook really reminds me of the freshwater Gamakatsu B10S that is prolific and very popular. And it's a good black nickel saltwater hook, but use whatever you have, use what you can find. We're gonna start our thread right at the eye, work back, and then forward again. I'm just building a simple thread base. It's gonna help hold on to these bead chain eyes. This size 4, we're gonna use a medium bead chain. You can use a large if you want. I will do that on some. Anything larger than a 4, I usually go up to a large size stainless steel bead chain. That's the trick. Make sure you leave yourself an entire eye length behind the eye. That's really important. We're gonna add some dubbing in the front here. We're just gonna put these on top of the shank, do some X wraps, crisscross, applesauce, all the fun stuff. There's no super technical way to do this. I usually just add tension as I go. And then since I really like my flies to be durable, I'm gonna add just a little bit of Zap-A-Gap super glue to my thread. Just a little extra security. Don't lose a lot of flies fishing bonefish, but if you get into them thick, your flies do get slimed and chewed up. So a little extra durability never really hurt. And then we've got room because we're gonna wrap dubbing in front of this. That's important. Let's work our thread rearward. Keep working that thread base. It's gonna be helpful later on. And I'm working back, not too far, but just to where my thread intersects the barb. You can see that right there. That's kind of my point on this, since it has kind of a unique bend here. And we're going to start playing with the key component here, which is craft fur. This stuff, if you haven't played with it, it can drive you a little nuts. It can be a little messy, but it is exceptionally consistent in color, length, and you know exactly what you're gonna get. And that's why we're using craft fur for this. This is the sand color. It's a little yellow. Tan is also really popular. You can do a ton of different stuff with this. Anytime I use a synthetic like that, like this, I really like these synthetic scissors from Dr. Slick. They are the cheapest, most durable, stinking, long-lasting scissor. It's kind of awesome. What I like to do here, I'm gonna do this so you can see, is insert my scissor closed and lift. And that's gonna expose a piece that I can cut from the base. All right, what you're going to end up with is this clump, right? It's not good looking. It's obviously way too much for what we're gonna use. This is when having a comb is very helpful at the desk, because I wanna comb out. There's kind of an under fur. There's 3 different lengths of fur in craft fur, but this is going to turn into our dubbing. That's gonna be all the body, so you need to save that. Comb that out. This is way too long, and the problem with these long fibers is they thin out. You can see it's much more dense in the middle here, and it thins out. So pinch here, but loose so that you can pull out those longer fibers and start to thin them out. And we're just going to slowly work back into the clump. And you can see way more density. I don't need them to be all uniform, but I do want them to be fairly dense. To measure this out, I usually measure what I would just call a generous shank length. So I'm going just beyond here. And then I'm just gonna transfer this to my left hand. Do a pinch wrap, loose if you can, not too much tension. This thing is slippery, the craft fur, and I don't want it to roll on the shank. Great. We could have trimmed this ahead of time. I'm just going to take loose wraps up to the bead chain. But this is a messy fly, and so may as well embrace it, I figure. Work on back. Grab those sharp synthetic scissors. Love these things. All right, now we're starting to form a fly. The next thing we're going to add is crystal flash. The original pattern calls for pearl. Most people stick to that. I've been using some, I don't even know what to call this. I think it's just black peacock is my guess. So we're going to take a single strand here. I'm going to fold it over. Trim this. And then I'm going to take one of those two. Now the key here, I've got my thread right at the point of the hook because I want to be able to wrap rearwards. Fold this piece of crystal flash, bring it up. I'm wrapping back to that bundle of craft fur. Rotate and repeat on the opposite side there. Watch your thread here. So now we've got crystal flash extending beyond the craft fur on each side. I want to trim this. I want to leave it long. It's just beyond that craft fur. Next, we're going to use some epoxy mono eyes. Now you can make your own. They're quite easy to make. The key ingredient is some black UV epoxy, but beyond that you just need some mono and a lighter. Really simple. So take one of these and I'm gonna tie it in on the near side first. Just like that crystal flash, I'm wrapping rearward on it. Trying to fold it out a little bit there. They give you a lot of mono to work with, so you can just trim that, make it a little bit easier to work with. But don't worry about reefing down on these just yet. Because it's mono, they're really easy to adjust. And I don't like mine really long out from the hook. I like them pretty close in, honestly. So I'm gonna pull this. Good. Pretty even there. And now we can start working up the shank. You can add plenty of tension. Trim that mono. And then I'm going to add a little layer of super glue here. Really, really light. I just want to help bind down on top of that mono. And like I said earlier, I like durable flies. Spend my time tying them. I want them to last, especially if I gift them to someone. It's kind of embarrassing if you hand a fly out and then it falls apart. All right, we got that covered up. I'm going to invert the hook now. Trying to pry those eyes out a little bit. And I kind of want to cover some of this up. I know that sounds silly, but I think it looks good. I think it's something that sets this fly apart, for me at least, the way I tie it. I like to use a Magnum Gold variant zonker strip here, and you can really easily do this just with your hands, sometimes adding a little bit of
moisture helps. I'm gonna use a clip. So I'm actually gonna clip the rabbit I want. You can use a binder clip, you can use all sorts of stuff. But I have these and I'm gonna use them. I'll rotate that, and this just helps. This is really if you want a dubbing loop, but I use this anytime I'm trimming fur off of a hide like rabbit. It just makes it really easy to get a even, consistent cut. You can see those nice dark tips. That's what I like so much about this. It gives it a little bit of character. And this is probably the toughest part of the fly, because all I'm going to do here is insert this bunny over the top of the eyes, and I'm trying to split the shank. It's tough to see there at the bend of the hook. Loose wrap. Try not to hit your thread with the point. Cover that up. And I'm just going to carry this up the shank a little bit, get away, reach in. It's a sharp hook. Careful. Trim that up. Okay, we can rotate. That's looking pretty good there. Now we're going to start adding some legs. Just a standard silicone leg on this one. And this is, I believe, pumpkin with black flake. This is a single leg, tying in right at the middle point. And then I'm going to fold this one over. And so we'll have one leg on each side. And I trim these just so they match that crystal flash there. So the next thing we're going to do is start adding some dubbing. The problem with craft fur is, one, it's super slippery. Two, it's already fibers that have been aligned, and you actually want to add some chaos. So what I'm going to do is start picking this apart and then just adding it into a pile at random. This is going to make this much easier to dub. I'm just going to grab a clump, less is more, wet your thread if you want, or you can add a little bit of wax as well. Like I said, this stuff is super slippery. And a little bit at a time is the way to go. It's going to be chunky, it's not going to be pretty, it's going to look like different little chunks of rope as you go up, and that's okay. I want to get up to the hook point. And then I'm going to stop because we're going to add some more legs in. You'll want 2 legs for this next segment. And we'll start on the near side here. What I like to do, find that middle point, fold it again on your thread, bring this up. Now I'm going to leave one half of this leg towards the back. I'm going to walk the other half up the shank, right up to behind, just behind those stainless steel bead chain eyes. You see there's a little bit of separation there. Now I'm going to grab another leg. I'm going to follow the same steps but backwards. So fold that, bring it up to the shank. I've got one pointing forward. I'm going to walk the other one back. Great. All that's left is to add some more dubbing. So let's get a noodle going here. And I always leave these legs long. I always wait to the end to trim, because it's nice to have the whole fly to look at in terms of perspective and profile when you're making that length decision. And even when I do trim them, you'll see I leave them fairly long because I can always trim them down on the water, or the guide can. And you just can't add legs when you're on the water. So it never hurts to leave your legs a little bit longer. And you're seeing I'm kind of creating this thick rope and this chunky body on the way up. We're gonna comb this all out, so don't worry. Keep it going. And you see I'm working these two legs up front back. I want them angled towards the back, and I'm going to do that with the dubbing wedged against these eyes. There we go. Okay. Now one last piece here. Gotta mix a little bit more up because I want to wrap these eyes and finish everything nicely. When you're doing the eyes, do feel free, try and keep your dubbing noodle a little bit skinnier. It'll be a lot easier to work through there. You'll get some more passes, more wraps. It'll look nicer, a little bit more uniform. Bring your thread to the front. And when you're ready, you've got everything there. You can grab your whip finish tool. And I usually do 2 whip finishes. You can use adhesive if you like. You can do the UV thing, you can do super glue, you can do head cement, whatever you like here. But usually I trust my knots. All right, so I want these legs to be about the shank length. That is kind of the standard. So you can grab a hook if you want, you can grab the package here and measure it out. I just guess most of the time. I've done enough of these where start long and then take small little clips as you go in. And always trim these together. They'll look a lot better. All right, we got legs, we got flash, we got eyes, we got bunny, we got craft fur. Last step, grab your Velcro tool and get to work, because we want this thing to be kind of buggy, kind of messy, but it adds to the volume of this fly, and I think it just sells it, honestly. And this keeps everything going there. Sweet. That is your fly.
That's the Mantis Shrimp, everyone. If you have any questions or you like this video, leave us a comment down below. We love hearing from you. Don't forget to grab the materials list in the description and check out our article where we discuss sizes, colors, weights, all that important stuff and how we fish this fly over on our website. Before you go, think about hitting that thumbs up button. It's a big help for us. Get tying, everyone. We'll see you soon in the shop or out on the water.